Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley, and this is Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville, the loveliest spot in all of Boston. Our mission is to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by introducing you to the coolest authors, the funnest tales, and a whole lot of reading inspiration for the whole family. We hope that you'll help us spread the word by telling all of your family and friends, your kids' teachers, librarians, principals, and random strangers on the street that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Podcast Addict. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. Wonderful, wonderful episode for you today. First up, Katie Hafner is here to celebrate the lost women of science. And later in the show, D A Royster will be here to celebrate happy music, a New Orleans jazz story.
Hi, I'm Ashley, a first-time author who loves turning real animals into big adventures for our littles.
And I'm Michael, a scientist, international educator, and textbook author. Ashley and I have teamed up to bring the wildlife believes right into your hands.
Kids will meet real animals like jaguars and tapirs and learn about the struggles they face in the wild. With artwork by local student illustrators, these animals truly come to life for your kids.
And for teachers, we built K5 toolkits to make it easy to integrate these books into the classroom, all with age-appropriate activities that connect literacy, science, and wildlife conservation.
You can learn more at ashleymosley.com or inspiredventures.com. Let's keep the adventure going.
Well, I'll let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is also brought to you by We're Going on a Space Adventure, written by Marie Nichols. This is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Blasting off and speeding through space, Graham cheers to the moon and beyond. But Bracken quickly learns that Graham has a fear of flying and that he must manage control of the spaceship. On the moon, they narrowly escape a hideous monster as a crater explodes, and on Mars, they need to outrun Martian creatures or risk becoming their dinner. Hoping to find a friendlier planet, they decide to try Jupiter. Then clank, 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 something is attacking the spaceship. You and your kids are going to love this book. It's fun. It's exciting. It celebrates intergenerational friendships, and we love those. We're Going on a Space Adventure by Marie Nichols. It is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. This episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by Trumpet, the Miracle Wolf Pup series. There's a brand new book in the series, and we're so excited to tell you all about it. Trumpet becomes a mom. In this exciting book, Trumpet and Lighthawk, now a bonded pair, start their own family with their very first litter of pups. Families can read together, schools can explore the importance of wolf packs and conservation, and Trumpet fans everywhere can celebrate this milestone in her incredible journey. Grab your copy today, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, select bookstores, and the Wolf Conservation Center, where Trumpet and her family live. Plus, 50% of all profits go right back to supporting the Wolf Conservation Center, with more donated to Lighthawk Conservation Flying. So grab your book today and have a group haul for Trumpet and her family. I am really looking forward to this conversation. Our guest is here today to celebrate a brand new middle grade book. It's called The Lost Women of Science. Please welcome to the show the host of the Lost Women of Science podcast, Katie Hafner. Katie, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me, Jed. I'm good. I don't know what to say. It's kind of a crazy time in the world.
It is.
And so it's, what can you do except get up in the morning and just keep doing what you're doing?
I'm almost 100 years old, and that has been my motto ever since I was a child. Just kind of get
Even
up
when it
and
wasn't crazy.
do what you can and try to make the world a better place. I'm really curious, how did all these women of science get lost?
Ugh. You're really asking me that? I mean, really? Okay. So, where do I start? It was very unusual for women to work outside of the home for many, many years, in fact, centuries, to do anything except care for the kids and the home and hearth, and and it was highly unusual for women to go into science. We go back at Lost Women of Science. So one of the criteria that we have is you have to be dead to qualify for Lost Women of Science. Because what we say is, well, we have a couple of mantras. One is, we're not mad, we're curious. Okay, we're a little bit mad. And we are a little bit mad. And one of our other mantras is more benign, which is, these are women who can't speak for themselves, so we speak for them. And, there's some kind of very kind of obvious ways that they get lost. One of them is that the man takes credit for the work the woman did, and the woman just it's this incredible vanishing act. They just recede into basically nothingness. They don't get Wikipedia pages, or if they do, they're very truncated and or wrong. So we actually, at Lost Women of Science, we are a podcast. And obviously we have this book out, but we also have a big project that's funded by Craig Newmark of Craigslist. It's a big philanthropy. It's called Craig Newmark Philanthropies. And Craig is very interested in Wikipedia and making sure that it's accurate. So he's given us all his money to correct and edit and create Wikipedia pages for our female scientists. We're going to be around. I mean, we won't be around forever. I won't, and the rest of my staff won't. But these women will, the untold stories, and there are so many. So we're here to talk about the book, and that's just 10 stories. On the podcast, we've told dozens, but our database has hundreds. I kid you not, hundreds of women who did remarkable work in science against the odds, backwards in high heels. And I just feel like, how are we going to tell those stories? How are we going to get through them all? Because it takes a lot to tell the stories, because there's so little primary source material. A lot of times no one thought to save their papers, just their papers, just their letters. So you end up digging around at the Library of Congress in a man's papers, hoping you'll find mention of the woman who worked with him. So it's, so they get lost because the man takes credit. They get lost because they didn't think that their papers should be saved. It didn't occur to them that they were doing important work. They get lost because history tends to write these women out, or just, instead of writing them out, just doesn't write them in. I mean, does any of that surprise you?
Well, no. We've heard stories like that, and I'm delighted that there are people out there like you and your team that are bringing these stories to light, and to help these women get the credit they deserve, and in doing so, hopefully pave the way so that our future women of science don't get lost.
Right. I mean, we're making huge strides. Look at the women who've been getting the Nobel Prize. We've got Kathleen Carrico with the COVID vaccine, and Jennifer Doudna with CRISPR, and yay. But part of our mission, we're Lost Women of Science. We're an initiative. It's the Lost Women of Science Initiative, and we're an educational nonprofit. So we're a 501c3, and one of our main missions is to inspire young women, girls, and young women to pursue science, to see these women, and I'm holding up the book, even though we're a podcast, to see these women as role models. And it's kind of a cliche to talk about role models like that, but it really works, right?
Yeah, I agree. And that's one that I'm glad you brought that up, because I have a young woman in my life, my niece, who is just about a year short of getting her degree in biomedical engineering.
Really?
What woman role model would you suggest I introduce my niece to?
Oh, wow. Biomedical engineering. That is a really good one. Well, maybe even I'm thinking of the biochemist who got so erased. And this isn't so much biomedical engineering, but it is biochemistry, and it's so important. It's this woman, Dora Richardson.
Dora Richardson.
Yeah, write that down. I don't think she's not in the book. She might be in the next volume. So we're doing 3 volumes. This is Penguin Random House. And we're doing 3 volumes. And this is the first volume that just came out. Got great reviews. And Dora Richardson, are you ready for this? She was the very first chemist to synthesize what became tamoxifen, the drug that has saved thousands and thousands of lives, tens of thousands of lives, hundreds of thousands of lives. The breast cancer prevention and treatment. And she just disappeared like it's nobody's business. She just disappeared. And what's interesting, and your niece might find this interesting, is that AstraZeneca, and I don't know what your niece wants to go into, if she wants to go into academic research or into industry.
She's still figuring that out.
Yeah, interesting. Well, so speaking of industry and big companies, AstraZeneca, the head of oncology research, is on our advisory board at Lost Women of Science. And she said, she's this wonderful woman. She said, look into Dora Richardson. And so we just went and we ran with that. And we started looking into it. And then we went to AstraZeneca and we said, how about if you guys sponsor our podcast? We did a 2-part podcast. We'll do 30 minutes for some scientists, just one 30-minute podcast, and sometimes we'll turn it into 2. But we do full seasons of 5 episodes. I wish we could play. We're on a podcast. I should have thought to play some. But anyway, she said, yeah, we barely got the question out of our mouths. And she said, of course, how much do you need? And we said, give us $25,000. And she said, done. We barely finished asking for it. And she said, done. And the point I'm making with this is that here's a woman at a really high level at a very big pharma company who told us, who's the one who said, look into this woman. So the world is really changing.
Yes. Right? Yes. And I'm delighted about that for my niece and for the other women in my life and for all women. I think it's wonderful that they're getting opportunities. Not enough opportunities, though, because as my niece will tell me, she's the only female in most of her classes. So even
Really?
things are getting better at her engineering university. There's not enough women there yet.
Where is she?
She's at Wentworth in Boston.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, they need to get their act together
Yeah.
and get more women involved. There's a wonderful woman at Northeastern who started something called the Center for Inclusive Computing to close the gender gap in computing. So maybe something similar could happen.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the women we're going to read about in the first volume of The Lost Women of Science. Who is the person that you think is most fascinating?
Oh, gosh, good question. Of course, it's like asking you who's your favorite child. I'm looking at the contents now. I think, well, I have such a soft spot because I covered technology forever for the New York Times, first for Newsweek and Business Week, and then the New York Times. And I'd always heard about John von Neumann, who was maybe the most brilliant mathematician of the 20th century, and a computer scientist. And he was Hungarian, and he was married to this woman, Clary, and she had like barely graduated from high school, but was very, very, very smart. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't say but I should say and was very, very, very smart. And he just decided that she could learn about computers. He decided to sort of teach her. And they ended up she was one of the very first people, not just women, but people to actually write code. And that's a great story, because it's tragic too, because she wasn't sure of herself, and she ended up killing herself. It shouldn't turn readers off. It should just make readers understand that, everybody in this book is also very human. So there she was brilliant. I have to say the very first person we did, so that's Clary. The very first person we did a whole season on was Dorothy Anderson, who I just love her so much. I mean, you fall in love with all your subjects, right? And because these women are incredible. What they did was incredible. They were the context they lived in was just so uninviting, to put it mildly. And so Dorothy Anderson was this very, very, very smart woman who went to Mount Holyoke College. And Mount Holyoke was one of those colleges in the early 20th century, late 19th, early 20th century, that put a big premium on science education. And so these young women got a lot of great education in zoology and biology and chemistry. And then she went on to Johns Hopkins, one of the first students at the new medical school at Johns Hopkins, which was started by women, funded by women, with the stipulation that women had to be admitted to Johns Hopkins Medical School. And so Dorothy goes there, and she gets out of Johns Hopkins with her medical degree in like 1920 something, and she wants to be a surgeon, but she can't be a surgeon because women were really tamped down. They just weren't allowed to do stuff that was too visible. It was really many medical doors were closed to women. And so they were sort of shunted over into more silent specialties like pathology. So she became a pathologist. And pathologists, they study what causes disease, but they also do autopsies. And so she was at the babies' hospital, a children's hospital in New York. run by Columbia University. And she worked in the basement, and she kept getting these cases where kids died of something that was routinely misdiagnosed as celiac disease. And nobody understood what was going on. And Dorothy figured out that these kids who were dying of this thing at age, anywhere from months to a couple of years, they didn't live more than a couple of years at most, had cystic fibrosis, because she saw this involvement, this lung involvement. So she went beyond what was happening in the gut up to the lungs, and she figured it out. So she named the disease. She wrote a 50-page, this was in 1938. She named it cystic fibrosis. She wrote a 50-page single-authored paper.
Wow.
I know. And then she, it's tragic. She discovered this disease, and she got completely shafted by this guy she was working with. He took a lot of the credit. She actually came up with the sweat test. I don't know if you know much about cystic fibrosis, but they used to say that if you kissed your baby's brow and it was salty, then your baby was doomed, because because your baby with cystic fibrosis they get very salty sweat. Anyway, she basically disappeared, and you should listen to the season. It's really moving. And the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, to its credit, finally, after we did the season, they named a prize in her name.
Oh, fantastic.
Columbia University got a portrait, commissioned a portrait, an oil painting of her, and hung it up. And we feel really good about that.
Yeah.
I know. But she's a case. You asked how these women get lost. Her papers just disappeared. She never thought to give them to Columbia. Columbia has a little tiny itty bitty file in its special collections on her, and that's it.
Wow.
That's it.
We oftentimes, talk about what kind of things parents and kids can talk about as they're reading a book. I'm thinking that it would be really wonderful if parents and kids talk about why these women disappeared, just about what we're talking about here, with our girls and with our boys. It's super important that these people get the recognition that they deserve. And it's super important for all of our kids to understand that anybody can do something amazing.
Mm-hmm. Anybody can do something amazing if you're given, some of the tools that you need. One of the stories in the book that's very, very personal for me is my own grandmother.
Oh.
So my grandfather was a well-known physicist, and he invented the atomic clock. He was at MIT forever, and I always knew, there's her little illustration, and I always knew growing up that she did something in biology. Maybe I wasn't really sure, because it was his career, it was his work and his career and his fame. In fact, the Wikipedia page on him is quite long. Doesn't even mention her. Might mention that he was married to her, but nothing about her work. So a couple of years ago, I thought, let me just Google her name, and I found special collections at Harvard. She worked at the, the Mass Eye and Ear Infirmary, and she worked at MIT. And so I went down to Boston. I went through all her papers, and it's really incredibly moving. She was studying in the 1940s. Premature babies were going blind. So they're born with fine eyesight, and something was causing them in the first weeks of their life to go blind. That was a medical mystery, and it was an epidemic. So it was called retrolental fibroplasia at the time. It's now called retinopathy of prematurity. And she was part of a team looking into why this was. Mm-hmm. And Stevie Wonder, for instance, it's what caused his blindness. He was born with perfectly healthy eyes. Mm. And it turns out that it was an excessive amount of oxygen that was given to the babies. So it made a lot of sense to give them oxygen because their lungs were underdeveloped, but it was doing something to their eyes that caused the blindness. And so here she is, this woman doing this really important work, and didn't even have a Wikipedia page. So when in the audiobook for the Lost Women of Science book, I read that chapter aloud, and then the Penguin Random House narrator reads the rest. So anyway, so that must have been a treat for you to read about your grandmother. You know, it was, and yet she wasn't a nice woman. She was really actually pretty nasty. They lived in Belmont, and they had a big house in Belmont, and they had a house on the Cape. This is a funny story. And they had a house on an island off the Cape, a private island. And she used to chase people off that island if they would wander on. And about 10 years ago, I wrote a book. It was a memoir, and I was in Chatham giving a talk about the book, and I said this story about my mean grandmother chasing people off the island. She'd go up to them in the car, because they'd be walking across this bridge from Monument Beach and over to this island, because they were curious. Like, it's really kind of seductive, isn't it? Like, what's over that bridge? And she'd roll down the window and she'd say, "Can I help you?" And so I'm giving this talk at this bookstore in Chatham, and this guy comes up to me afterwards and he said, "Your grandmother chased me off that island." Yeah, she was scary. But I say in the chapter, and I say in the podcast, because these are all based on the podcasts that we did, that there was this one incredibly gentle moment with her where I got conjunctivitis, pink eye, and my eyes were encrusted. And she was so gentle, putting on this kind of gel on my eyes, this ointment, a couple of times a day. And I remember being a little bit confused by that. But now that I understand that she was basically almost an ophthalmologist. Yeah. So, isn't that interesting? Like, you just never know. You never know what's going inside people's little brains. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things we try to talk about here and encourage families to talk about, is that whole idea of, you don't know what another person is experiencing, and we have to take that into consideration. And always. Yeah. Always. I mean, if you think about it, every single one of these women, and I'm talking not just about the women who are featured in the book, but also women, all the women, the hundreds of women in our database. Who knows, really? We're working on a really heavy season right now about a physical chemist who worked at GE in the laboratories there, and wow, what a tough life, and what a genius! What a genius! So I say, tough it out. Try to work through your stuff. We've all got stuff, and figure out sort of what floats your boat. These scientists, they were just compelled, right? Compelled to find out things about the stars, like, what are the stars made of? Yeah. And what's causing these kids to go blind, and why are these babies dying? And yeah. Well, it's fascinating. I love it. My daughter is a very successful young woman right now, but I would have loved to have read this book with her when she was in those middle grades. We used to read a lot and talk about all the books that she was reading, and it was so much fun. And I think The Lost Women of Science
would be a fantastic way to just start some really deep and meaningful conversations between kids and their parents.
Yeah. What were her favorite books?
Well, and it's funny that the book that we had so many deep conversations about was Truman Capote's In Cold Blood.
Really? How bizarre.
Yeah, she was just deep, and yeah. But because she was always fascinated by what was going on, what would cause somebody to do these different things, whether it was something wonderful or something horrific. And she's a pretty bright kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. What does she do now?
She is in the social media world. She works for an agency that connects influencers with brands, and that is a world that is beyond my comprehension, and the money is beyond my imagination. It's just great. Yes. We should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about The Lost Woman of Science, the middle grade book, and also about the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Go to lostwomenofscience.org. That's lostwomenofscience.org. Mm-hmm. O-R-G. That's the podcast. That's everything. And you can I think there's a button to click on to buy the book right off the website. I sure hope there is. And we have a donate button because we're a nonprofit. Yay. And I try to stay away from Amazon.
Sure.
Even though I'm, of course, like everyone else, completely dependent on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can, there's an alternative. There's bookshop.org where you can go to order the book. And please, if you do, send us an email. It's lostwomenofscience@gmail.com. lostwomenofscience@gmail.com, or just to me. I'm Katie at lostwomenofscience.org, Katie. And just tell us what you think. And also, we're running a contest. If you find the book in the wild, like meaning at a bookstore, take a picture of you with the book and send it in to us. We will not just post it on the website. I hope I'm not making a false promise. But we will also send you a piece of Lost Women of Science merch.
Oh, great.
I know. And we have great merch. We have great stuff. So
awesome.
We have a little merch store too. I know. We're like a whole thing.
Well, one of the things that we encourage listeners to do is to go to their local indie bookstore, and if the book isn't already on the shelf, to request it, and also to go to the local public library. So this is extra motivation. You can go there when the book comes in, take a picture, send it in, get some merch.
Get some merch.
Yes, yeah. Everybody wins.
Yeah, we're done and done.
We've had a great time speaking to you're the CEO of lostwomen.org.
I'm everything. I'm a host. I'm co-executive producer. I have a wonderful co-executive producer, Amy Sharp. And we started it together. And I'm, what else did you say? Oh, right. President or CEO or something of the company because we're incorporated.
Okay.
But I'm like that. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll just say that the chief bottle washer and at the lostwomenofscience.org, our guest has been Katie Hafner. Katie, thanks so much. This has been great.
Oh, it's been great talking to you. Thanks a lot.
Want to let you know that this episode of Reading with Your Kids is brought to you by OnceUponADance.com. Once Upon a Dance, books that move you, literally. Once Upon a Dance turns story time into a dance-along adventure. Build confidence, create connection, and enjoy screen-free fun. With over 60 awards and 3,000 5-star reviews, these interactive tales inspire kids to jump, twirl, and imagine. Find your next adventure at OnceUponADance.com. You can also find the books wherever books are sold online. Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Join us right now from right here in the greater Boston area. Our guest is here today to celebrate her debut picture book. It's called Happy Music, a New Orleans jazz story. Please welcome to the show, D A Royster. Dana, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Jen?
I am so excited to have you. Dana and I are buddies. Dana was a teacher here in Boston along with my beautiful wife, and they have served the kids in this community for decades. So first off, thank you for all that tremendous work that both you and my beautiful wife and all the rest of your colleagues have been doing for us here in the city.
Yes, yes. Love, love, love. My passion is children. 38 years, Boston Public Schools, special education. Loved it, but I'm also loving retirement.
Yeah. Well, just like my beautiful wife, you both chose after retirement to go into the arts and create. And my beautiful wife is right above me creating some beautiful visual art right now. And you have created this book that celebrates not only reading, but music. Tell us about Happy Music, please.
Yes, Happy Music is a passion project that has lived in my heart and soul, well, pretty much my entire life, because it is the story of a New Orleans music venue called Club Desire. And it is a venue that was started in the 1940s by my grandfather, Charles Armstead. And he opened the first venue where people of color could come and dance the night away and enjoy some live performances. And it was the first upscale. I mean, I'm sure there were plenty of other speakeasies, but men had to wear suits and women got dressed. And it was the first of its kind.
Yeah. That must have been a great legacy to grow up with.
Yes. Unfortunately, I never met my grandfather. He passed before I was born. But the story of the book is just my depiction of all that my mom used to say about the club.
Yeah. And you were sharing with me earlier that there's some pretty well-known greats of jazz music got their start in your grandfather's club.
That is true. My grandfather was very good friends with Fats Domino. Fats Domino, he's the most, well, I shouldn't say that, but my grandfather and he were good friends. He was the only person that was allowed to come to the club without a suit on. Fats Domino worked in a factory. He wore overalls. And my grandfather allowed him and only him to come in without a suit on. If you read Fats Domino's autobiography, he names my grandfather as the person who gave him his first car. Now, the backstory on that is because Fats was going to go play at another club across town closer to his home. And my grandfather, in efforts to keep him to stay, bought him a car.
I love it. What a great story.
Yes, but some of the other greats, little Stevie Wonder played at the club, Ella Fitzgerald, the list goes on and on. There were many, 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 Miles Davis, many, many great jazz performers. And it wasn't just a jazz club because it was more of a vaudeville club. So there were all kinds of different acts that would come through. Stepin Fetchit performed there. There were just many, many different performers.
Yeah. Talk, please, a little bit about jazz. This is something that the United States gave to the world.
Yes, particularly New Orleans, birthplace of jazz, gave to the world. So yeah, again, there are many great performers. You could go to New Orleans today and just the music will blow you away. I remember years ago watching the Neville brothers perform on a street corner in New Orleans. But I wanted to bring, I don't want to say it's a dying form of music, but it's a form of music that young people don't know a lot about. So I wanted to bring it to light in the classroom, in people's homes. It's a great bedtime story. It's a great classroom or church group story. It is also a story of transformation, I guess, because it starts out with the little girl asking her mother, why do you like that happy music? She refers to the jazz music as happy music because it makes her mother smile and twirl and enjoy. And so she poses the question, why do you like that happy music? And then her mother goes into the story of her father who started a club and some of the songs and some of the music and the dance from the era.
Yeah.
So there's the boogie woogie and, and it goes on and on and on. It's a fun story.
One of the things, I'm a fan of jazz. It's not my favorite genre of music, but it inspired me because it's a genre of music that really encourages improvisation.
Yes.
And anybody who's ever been on stage with me knows that that's all I do.
Right.
Improvise and just kind of feel what's going on. And it's a wonderful way to perform. And I really think that it really was one of the first places where that improvisation was encouraged and celebrated.
Yes. Yes. I mean, some of the songs, because there's also a playlist at the back of the book. And the playlist, some of the performers, Count Basie and Duke Ellington, those are the people who performed at the club, but some of the songs just jumping with me. And, so the book promotes not just the music, but the dance and the movement to get kids, as you said, improvisation, just to get them up, get them moving, get them listening. There's one song, what is it called? Fast Domino, Shake, Rattle, and Roll. So you could do a lot with that in a classroom. Or even in your work, you could do a lot with Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
Yeah. I think one of the things that my beautiful wife learned, she went on a trip with some teachers over to Finland and Estonia to just see how they were educating their kids. And one of the things she was really pleased with is that every 45 minutes, I think, they stop teaching and they tell the kids, get up and move. Let's get some moving. And boy, I think it would make a huge difference in our classrooms if we did that, every 45 minutes. Turn on some music. Let's move a little bit. Okay. Get that out. Let's get back and focus in on our work.
And there's so many studies that talk about how, like, we here in America, you ride the bus to school, you get off the bus and then it's, okay, sit down. And if we just gave children opportunity to move a little, it would make such a difference. And with focus and concentration, just, we have them on screens. So our kids don't even get outside to play and do all the things that, like, we grew up doing. We played until the streetlights came on. That was just a universal signal. Everybody went home when the streetlights came on.
And you didn't go home until the streetlights came on.
No.
Until you get outside.
Yeah, you were outside. I mean, you don't see kids riding bicycles anymore, and I grew up on Long Island, and we're all still in touch, but we had the bicycle brigade. You went up the side, it was just so different. And today's children are missing out on that. Yeah.
It's funny that you say that because, I think what's going on, kids' lives today are programmed and scheduled so heavily that I think it reminds when my daughter danced and she danced she's still dancing now, but very, competitive dancer and all of that, studied all the genres. But most of the girls that she danced with, they were magnificent. Go out, do this, do that move, do that move. They could do anything that a choreographer asked them to do. Mm-hmm. But turn on some music and ask them to go out and dance for joy. Okay. Didn't happen. And I'm afraid the kids nowadays, they're so programmed and they just depend on adults, teachers, after-school teachers, whatnot, to tell them what to do next, that they're not going to want it. Well, we already see they don't know what to do when they have free time.
Right. They don't, and they really don't know. Take away, the computer from their phone, from their hand, which is the phone. They don't know what to do. And you see it in the classroom because we used to write imaginative stories. Mm-hmm. The kids have no idea what to, they're staring at a blank screen or a blank piece of paper, and they really have a hard time connecting. Everything now is a sentence starter. Everything, we have to guide them so much more. The creativity of children is, we made mud pies, like, we took popsicle sticks and made things, and kids don't do that anymore. Yeah. You could create with a crayon and a blank sheet of paper. We created, but no, today's kids are missing out.
I do think so. And that's why I love happy music. I think it's a great way to get parents and kids to start talking about being creative and get outside and don't be afraid to take chances.
Yes. And that is the little girl in the story. I didn't give her a name. She's just a little girl who guides the story. But she is me. And she guides the story in that she is hesitant. She starts out covering her ears while mom's happy music is on. She's covering her ears, doesn't like it, doesn't want to get involved. Her brother Brian and cousin Cherie are also there, and they get into it, and they're doing the boogie woogie, and they're doing the different dances following mom. And then the little girl gets into it, and she gets excited, and she loves it. And the story ends with her saying, I love happy music.
That's awesome. That really is awesome. Now, I've been in on this. Dana and I have been talking about this book since she first sat down and started putting it together. So I'm really excited that it's out in the world right now. You did something I think is pretty bold. Most people, when they launch their book, they go to their maybe neighborhood bookstore or neighborhood library, you went down and launched this book down in New Orleans. That takes some courage.
That was my book launch on the streets of New Orleans. If you go to the Jazz Museum in New Orleans, it's in the bookstore there. And it's just around town. There's a place called NOLA Kids. It's in the NOLA. They have 2 bookstores. It's in there. So it's in a few bookstores in New Orleans. I have not launched in any bookstores here in the Boston area yet.
Well, we'll see what we can do to remedy that. What was that like? How the journey that you've taken as an author, that must have been pretty exciting and daunting for you.
Well, in reality, this is actually my second book, because my first book, I adopted a little boy. My husband and I adopted in 1998, our son, and I simply wanted a bedtime story to read to him. And so I read, of course, as a parent, as a teacher, you read all the time. So I read to him all the time. And there was this one particular book I read. It was called Harlem. And it was a very simple book by Brian Collier. And it inspired me. I put him to bed, and then I basically went and wrote the book out on index cards in my bedroom, sitting on the side. And it is today. So my book it was 2005. So my book is 25 years old now. I'm in the process of revamping it. I'm going to relaunch it just because I want an anniversary edition. But today it is still the only book on the market that touches three categories. It is domestic adoption. It is African American, and it is about a boy.
Okay.
There's nothing else out there even 25 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was not my goal, but I spent time. I wrote that book, and then I pushed it in the adoption community. And I was pushing so hard, and my son then was 5, and that's when you start the little league and the this and the that and the this and the that. And so I stopped everything with that and was a mom and a chauffeur.
And a teacher, and in my opinion, a hero, because anytime we have somebody on the show that has made the choice to adopt a child, I need to celebrate it, because it is such a wonderful, beautiful gift that you not only gave to your son, but you gave to yourself.
Yes.
And
I have 3 adopted sons.
Wow, that is fantastic. And there are so many kids. We've talked about it here in the show. There are over 400,000 kids in the foster care system on any given day. Yes. And, we do absolutely need to really celebrate when a family makes a choice to give a kid a forever home. And so thank you for doing that.
Yes. And my book, Adoption Is still no. It's out there. It's on Amazon.
That's
Yeah. But, and Massachusetts, I don't know, a lot of people don't know, Massachusetts is the #1 adoption state in the country.
I did not know that. So there are more adoptions happening here than anywhere else.
Than anywhere else in the country. Yes.
Wow. All right, Massachusetts. We did that right. That the rolls and clam chowder.
And we're also one of the only states that if you adopt in the state of Massachusetts, that adopted child goes to school for free, goes to college for free.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We do some good things here.
Yeah, Massachusetts does some awesome stuff. Yeah, especially for adopted children. Yes.
So now that book is out back and you're ready to reintroduce that book, and Happy Music is out there, is there a 3rd book coming from your imagination?
Yes, it's actually a series, because I travel after retiring. I started an international travel program for educators and have traveled with your beautiful wife. So from that, I'm starting a book series about travel, and it is called Mrs. B's Class Trips.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Do we have an idea when those books will start to be seen in
prayerfully in the next year? I have already written one, and that was about a trip to Japan. Okay. So I've written that one, and my illustrator, Tyrus Gaucher, is working on it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about Happy Music, a New Orleans jazz story, and find out more about you.
Can find out more about me and my books on my website. Is called Unspeakable Joy Press. So unspeakablejoypress.com. You can reach me at Dana at unspeakablejoypress.com.
We've had a really fun, happy time speaking to the author of Happy Music, a New Orleans jazz story. Our guest has been D A Royster. Dana, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure.
And thanks for taking care of my beautiful wife on those trips.
Yes, I can't wait to travel with her again. She's a lot of fun.
Wow, that sure was a fun episode. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Reading with Your Kids. If this episode made you smile or gave you something to think about, please share a link to the show with someone you love and maybe post about it on your socials. We would be so grateful if you could leave us a 5-star review. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the show. We'd also love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, and at Jedley Magic on X. Our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. And of course, our website is readingwithyourkids.com. I'm so very grateful to the people who made this show so wonderful. Starting with our guest, Katie Hafner. Please be sure to check out The Lost Women of Science. And D A Royster. Please be sure to check out Happy Music, a New Orleans jazz story. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we want to thank you. You are amazing. You're juggling your responsibilities at work with your responsibilities at home, volunteering, helping out in the community, and you still have time to make the world a better place. And you do that every single time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you for the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.